Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 10 Part 21 based on novel. So let's start. A purple-black light pillar broke through the clouds before waves of powerful pressure covered the place. The entire land seemed to have trembled at this moment. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's eyes shrunk slightly as he stared at little Martin's shocking aura. Following which, his expression involuntarily changed. Although they were both at the samsara stage, he felt an extremely dangerous sensation from the latter. The demonic world was just like the food pyramid, and the celestial demon Martin tribe was at the highest level of this pyramid. Although the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was also at a fairly high level, he was still lacking when compared to the former. Although he felt endangered, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was no ordinary pushover either. Given the current circumstances, he knew that he had no choice but to fight. Moreover, he also possessed some confidence in his own strength. Hence, even though little Martin might be a celestial demon Martin, he knew that it was difficult for little Martin to reduce him into a miserable state, even if little Martin gained the upper hand. At that time, all he had to do was to look for an opportunity to escape, and this would not end up affecting his reputation as well. With this thought in mind, the eyes of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander turned dark and cold. It was indeed true that no one wanted to offend the celestial demon Martin tribe. However, he was not as wary as the Golden Ape Demon Commander duo. After all, he also had an extraordinary background. I have long heard about how powerful the celestial demon Martin tribe is. Since I have the opportunity today, I would like to see if for myself. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander cried out in a cold voice. He took a stride forward before majestic life and death chi spread from the 6 blood wings on his back. His aura rose, and it was clear that he had pushed his samsara stage strength to the limit. Little Martin lifted his head. There was a ferocious smile on his handsome face. In the next moment, the 10,000 feet bat wings on his back suddenly flapped before wild gales blew across the sky. His body also disappeared instantly. The blood wings on the back of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander also began to flap the moment little Martin disappeared. His body flashed and he retreated tens of thousands of feet. His frightening speed caused one to be stunned. Kai? However, the space behind the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander suddenly split apart after his body appeared tens of thousands of feet away. A fist that was filled with black light erupted. There was also a majestic life and death chi spreading from under his palm. A punch was thrown forward and everyone could see that the space itself had suddenly collapsed. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander suddenly turned around. Little Martin's speed had caught him by surprise. Clearly, he was unable to dodge at this juncture. A ruthless expression quickly flashed across his eyes before densely packed blood scales grew over his hand. Subsequently, he threw a punch forward. Bang! Both fists clashed head-on and a frightening energy ripple swept apart like a storm. The space within 100,000 feet radius of the both of them scattered under the spreading force, forming a vacuum region. During the previous head-on clash, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander had sent Lindong flying with a punch. This clearly demonstrated his samsara stage strength. However, this time around, he was unable to once again reveal him imposing manner. Get lost! The space collapsed and a prideful cold cry was suddenly emitted. Immediately, the expression of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander changed drastically. The blood scales on his arm were cracked while his entire body flew backwards in a miserable fashion. Many pairs of eyes stared at the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander, who had fallen into a disadvantage after only a single exchange, before their eyelids twitched violently. He was indeed a member of the celestial demon Martin tribe. Amongst those at the same level, it was likely that even those experts belonging to the other 3 overlord tribe would have difficulties fighting against them. Is that all you got? Little Martin appeared in a flash. There was some ridicule and contempt on his handsome face. This was different from the murderous intent hidden under Lindong's warm face. Instead, little Martin constantly revealed his overbearing haughtiness and looked down on his opponent. However, that overbearing manner also hid a meticulousness that belonged exclusively to him. It is too early for you to be celebrating. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's face turned furiously green. Suddenly, he stomped his foot in the sky, before the space beneath his foot collapsed. Black and white life-death chi formed around him in a swirl-like fashion. His dragon roar, which was filled with wild violence, resounded in the sky. Domineering dragon sky-shattering fist. After the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander released a furious roar, one could see 10,000 feet large wings forming behind him. A flying dragon roared before a fist was thrown forward. A 10,000 feet large fist was thrown forward and a hurricane seemed to follow. Wild gales swept across the sky. You actually dare to call yourself a domineering dragon with your puny abilities? You are a disgrace to the dragon tribe. Little Martin laughed coldly. He simply stared at the huge, 10,000 feet fist whistling forward, before he extended his hand, while purple-black lightning arcs danced over his long arm. Boom! The huge fist smashed heavily onto Little Martin's palm. However, this seeming incomparably ferocious attack came to a halt upon touching Little Martin's palm. Moreover, the latter's body did not even tremble at all. It was as though the strength contained in this overbearing attack from the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was completely absorbed by Little Martin. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's face turned furiously green. He released some angry roars and swung his 10,000 feet dragon fist. Many afterimages were formed and the surrounding yuan power turned violent under his fist wind. Nonetheless, regardless of how fearsome the former's attack was, Little Martin continued to stand in midair. Both his hands moved gently before he completely neutralized those wild and violent attacks. In fact, his body did not even budge at all. Second brother is amazing. Little Flame looked at both parties in the sky, which were in completely different states, before he involuntarily praised. Lindong nodded slightly. The current Little Martin was at the Samsara stage. However, he was clearly stronger than the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander, who was also at the same cultivation level. Considering the Celestial Demon Martin's formidable physical body as well, it was obvious that this Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was no match for him. In the past, I have always heard this fellow bragging about how strong he was at his peak. From the looks of it now, it is a little believable. Lindong laughed softly. He felt a little emotional. A long time ago, a Nirvana stage expert was an unbeatable existence in his eyes, while Little Martin was merely a demonic spirit with little strength which could disappear any time. At that time, Lindong had never expected that he would end up where he was today. It was likely that Little Martin also never expected that he would be able to return to his peak form. Only the both of them knew in their hearts the enormous price they had paid as they carefully faced various powerful enemies in order to reach this stage today. Regardless, they managed to obtain their desired reward for the price they had paid. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander is no match for Little Martin. Lindong stared at the wild and violent energy ripple which was sweeping across the sky, before he commented with a smile. Bang! In the sky, Little Martin once again threw a palm forward after Lindong uttered those words. His drifting palm was accompanied by wind and lightning. After which, his palm smashed onto the dragon fist, which came rushing over in a ferocious fashion. However, after fist and palm collided, an icy chill suddenly flashed across Little Martin's handsome face. He curled his hand and it turned into a claw. Purple-black light gathered over the tip of his fingers, forming a liquid-like substance. Heaven Demon Hand. An icy cold voice was suddenly unleashed from Little Martin's mouth. He swung his arm and a puff sound could be heard. The 10,000 feet dragon fist collapsed in an instant. Little Martin's body moved and his claw penetrated through the dragon fist and landed heavily onto the arm of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. His 5 fingers pierced downwards like poisonous snakes. Crack! The sound of bone cracking was accompanied with splurts of fresh blood. A miserable screech erupted from the mouth of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Immediately, everyone was shocked when they discovered that one of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's arm was actually broken by him. This scene caused the skin of many experts to turn numb. Even the corner of the Golden Ape Demon Commander's mouth twitched as he pulled back. To begin with, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was a 6-winged flying dragon. Although his physical body was not as powerful as a true member of the dragon tribe, it was not to be underestimated. In fact, even someone like them was unable to easily break his arm with their full strength. Yet, his powerful physical body seemed as weak as paper in little Martin's hands. Ah! The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander let out a miserable cry and withdrew. His hair was in a mess and his face had become unusually distorted. He stared viciously at a callous little Martin and roared, "Do you really think that I do not dare to kill you? If you have any other abilities, you should use them now. Otherwise, you might not have the chance to do so." Little Martin lifted his hand. Blood flowed down his long finger and there was a frightening brutal aura rising on his handsome face at this moment. The eyes of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander turned blood red. This time around, he did not hesitate any longer. He widened his mouth before a golden light beam suddenly shot out. Immediately, it turned into a 10,000 feet large large mountain. There were countless ancient symbols lingering over this mountain, while a vast and mighty ripple was emitted from it. Ancient divine object, 9 Sky Heavy Mountain. The Golden Ape Demon Commander duo had a change in expression upon seeing this item. Clearly, they recognized it. Oh! The 32nd ranked item on the Ancient Divine Object ranking, the 9 Sky Heavy Mountain, huh? It is unexpected that the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander actually possessed such a divine object. When the 3 middle-aged men from the Celestial Demon Martin tribe saw this scene, a tinge of shock flashed across their faces. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander formed some hand seals with a single hand. Majestic life and death chi turned into a light pillar which shot into the huge golden mountain. After which, the large mountain trembled and swelled up. In fact, it actually reached 100,000 feet in size. A gigantic shadow enveloped the place and seemed to cover the entire mountain range. 9 Sky Heaven Mountain, suppress all demons. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander had a ferocious expression, while his eyes were completely red. Bang! The entire world seemed to have become much dimmer at this moment. 10,000 golden light shot out from the huge golden mountain. After which, the huge mountain moved and tore through the space. It appeared in the air above Little Martin and finally came crashing downward. Bang bang bang. The mountain range below had collapsed as the large golden mountain descended. That destructive force was incomparably frightening. Little Martin lifted his head and looked at the large golden mountain that was descending towards him. His handsome face had a densely cold expression surging from it as he slowly spread his hand. A purple-black bright sun erupted from within his body. At the same time, his cold and indifferent brutal cold cry also resounded across the sky. Celestial Demon Sun Devouring Technique. A resplendent purple-black sun rose from within Little Martin's body and the already dim world became even darker. One could only see a purple-black sun rising in the sky. Bang! 100,000 feet large giant golden mountain came crashing down with a frightening force that could suppress a Samsara stage expert. The mountains below collapsed one after another as huge cracks spread across the entire mountain range. This scene was as though doomsday was arriving. Buzz! The purple-black sun expanded at a terrifying speed. Within a few breaths' time, it became hundreds of thousand feet in size. Subsequently, just like a bottomless pit, light flickered within it, as it devoured the entire golden mountain in front of countless pairs of eyes. Sizzle! A mysterious sound spread across the sky. Purple-black light rose and the large golden mountain disappeared in a peculiar fashion. Although everything seemed calm on the surface, everyone could sense an annihilation-like ripple suddenly being emitted from within the bright sun. However, that ripple was rapidly weakening. Meanwhile, the golden light spots flickering within the bright sun were disappearing a little at a time. At the same time, the energy ripples from the huge golden mountain were also vanishing. Bath! When the energy fluctuation completely disappeared, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's expression changed drastically. His expression turned pale before he vomited a mouthful of blood. At this moment, he realized that he had actually lost control of the 9 Sky Heavy Mountain. How is that possible? The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander exclaimed involuntarily in his shock. He never imagined that little Martin was actually able to snatch his 9 sky-heavy mountain. Celestial demon Martins can devour the world, and I face little difficulties in devouring an ancient divine object. A ridicule flashed across little Martin's face. Soon after, his eyes suddenly turned icy cold. He took a step forward and directly appeared in front of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Bang! The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander let out a ferocious roar upon seeing this. Vast and mighty fist wind came whistling forward before he ruthlessly attacked little Martin. Bang! Little Martin extended his hand and blocked the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's fist. A disdain appeared on the corner of his mouth. Soon after, his palm turned into a claw. His fingers were like the sharpest blades as they directly clawed into the flesh of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Roar! The eyes of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander became crimson in color, while his body swelled with lightning speed. Bloodlight lingered over it, and he directly transformed into a massive 6-winged flying dragon, which was tens of thousands of feet in size. Following which, a furious dragon roar resounded across the sky. Do you think that you can escape by transforming into your true form? Little Martin laughed coldly. His body was just like an ant when compared to that of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. However, his aura had completely suppressed the other party. Both his claws tore through the hard scales of the 6-winged flying dragon. After which, his hands grabbed a blood-colored wing. Just like lifting a mountain, he lifted the tens of thousands of feet large 6-winged flying dragon and ruthlessly smashed him against a mountain. Boom! The entire mountain collapsed as a result. Subsequently, the 6-winged flying dragon began to struggle wildly. However, little Martin's hands were like pincers. A brutal aura surged within his eyes. His body moved and he once again flung the 6-winged flying dragon. Bang bang bang. The land occasionally trembled. Countless experts were stunned when they saw little Martin dragging the 6-winged flying dragon and crazily smashing many mountains into pieces. It was a long while later before they felt their skin turning numb. This seemingly handsome young man was actually this terrifying in a fight. Roar roar! Many mountains collapsed after a huge shadow came whistling down from the sky. At the same time, the miserable roar from the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander also reverberated in the air. This caused the faces of the Golden Ape Demon Commander and the Ghost Condor Demon Commander in the distance to twitch. Secretly, they were celebrating the fact that they had withdrawn from the fight quickly. Otherwise, it was likely that they would have difficulties escaping today. Their hearts were naturally greatly shocked by the scene in front of them. They were also great demon commanders in the Beast War region, and they were well aware of the strength of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. However, the latter ended up being defeated miserably even after using his 9-sky-heavy mountain. This left them in deep shock over the Celestial Demon Martin's frightening combat strength. This fellow will suffer tremendously even if he can save his hide. The two of them exchanged glances and smiled bitterly. No one would have expected that the situation today would develop in such a manner. Had they known this beforehand, they would not have provoked Lin Dong. Lin Dong and the others below watched this overbearing scene. Then, he quickly turned his head to glance at the horrified faces of Chen Tong's group and involuntarily coughed softly. Well, he is usually quite a friendly chapter. Chen Tong's group laughed dryly. They were truly unable to associate a violent and ruthless person who could grab the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander and smash him around randomly, with the word friendly. It seems like the fight is over. Lin Dong stretched his waist. He could sense the rapidly weakening aura of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Clearly, little Martin's violent attacks have already left him with serious injuries. Bang! A shadow in the sky came rushing over as Lin Dong spoke. The huge body of the 6-winged flying dragon flew across the sky. After which, it shattered a mountain. Half of its body was covered by huge rock fragments. Boiling hot blood came spluttering forth like a fountain while a dense bloody scent enveloped the entire mountain range. Everyone in this mountain range was startled as they stared at the 6-winged flying dragon, twitching amongst the stone rubbles. Promptly, they shut their mouths tightly and used this moment to digest the shock in their hearts. Hovering in midair, little Martin's body slowly descended. His handsome face was currently filled with indifference as he glanced at a seriously wounded six-winged flying dragon. He gently patted his hands and spoke indifferently, "They are my brothers. It is not overboard even if I kill you since you dared to touch them." His indifferent eye swept over the many powerful individuals in this mountain range as he spoke. "The Deep Lightning Mountain is my brother's territory. I will definitely come looking for anyone who plots against them." At this moment, little Martin's voice no longer contained the pride from earlier. However, everyone could detect the iciness and murderous intent hidden under his calm voice. The faces of the Golden Ape Demon Commander and the Ghost Condor Demon Commander in the distance twitched slightly. They let out a quiet sigh and understood that little Martin was actually speaking to them. No one in the entire place dared to speak. Various powerful experts, who had quite a strong reputation in the Beast War region, could only cede to his demands. After all, after witnessing little Martin's brutal behavior, no one dared to offend him. A weak blood-colored light surged from within the rubbles and the huge body of the six-winged flying dragon shrunk. After which, he returned back into human form and sat miserably on the bloody mess. He let out an intense cough before blood was spat out from his mouth. A moment later, he finally lifted his head in a somewhat vicious manner. He stared intently at little Martin and sternly said, "What an overbearing celestial demon, Martin. If you have the ability to do so, you should kill me today. Otherwise, I will never let this matter rest." The smile on little Martin's face slowly disappeared. A murderous desire that caused the temperature of the surroundings to cool began to gather in this place. "I am a member of the Dragon Tribe. Let's see if the Dragon Tribe will ignore this matter if you dare to kill me." The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander laughed coldly. Even after he sensed that murderous desire, he was not afraid. "Are you considered a member of the Dragon Tribe? Do you think that you are considered part of the Dragon Tribe just because of that little dragon bloodline of yours?" Little Martin ridiculed. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander snorted coldly. He clenched his hand before bloodlight gathered in his hand. It soon turned into a blood-red dragon totem. There was a fairly pure dragon's might seeping out from this totem. Dragon Tribe Totem? Those three Samsara stage middle-aged men frowned upon seeing this. This totem was only given to individuals who were acknowledged by the Dragon Tribe. Moreover, those who owned one were considered as genuine members of the Dragon Tribe. Little Martin was also momentarily startled because of the blood-red Dragon Tribe totem. Humph! The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander involuntarily let out a cold snort after seeing little Martin's reaction. This status should at least give the latter some reason for pause, right? However, there was an icy cold ridicule rising on little Martin's handsome face while he was having such thoughts in his heart. The current Dragon Tribe really accepts any trash that comes their way. However, Grandpa Martin really wants to see if the Dragon Tribe will start a war with my Celestial Demon Martin Tribe over a big mongrel bird like you. The desire to kill once again surged after little Martin's cold voice sounded. He ceased hesitating as his body moved and rushed forward. Both his fingers pressed on the air before purple-black light came whistling forward and directly smashed the Dragon Tribe totem in the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's hand. "You?" The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander had a change in expression after he saw that little Martin was not the least bit fearful even after seeing the totem. However, before he could let out a furious cry, little Martin had already appeared in the air in front of him. A punch was thrown and purple-black light came sweeping out from it. This light seemed to have turned into a giant purple-black claw. Then, it tore through the space with an incomparable strength, before it ruthlessly smashed onto the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Presently, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was already seriously injured. All he could do was stare at the purple-black giant claw with horror-filled eyes. Never did he imagine that little Martin was actually this domineering. In fact, he did not even pay any respect to the Dragon Tribe, which was also one of the 4 overlord tribes. Bang! The giant purple-black claw landed ruthlessly. However, before it managed to land on the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander, everyone saw that the space in front of the latter suddenly distorted. Following which, 2 figures stepped out from within. Both of them threw a palm forward and an earth-shaking dragon roar resounded across the place. A huge dragon rose and forcefully shattered the giant purple-black claw. Friend from the celestial demon Martin tribe, it is always good to forgive and forget whenever possible. There is no need to kill him, is there? A dragon roar reverberated over the place, before an extremely pressurizing low and deep voice slowly reverberated across the sky at this moment. Countless pairs of eyes in this mountain range immediately turned to look. After which, everyone saw two figures standing in the empty space in front of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. There was an extreme terrifying pressure radiating from their bodies. That terrifyingly powerful pressure seemed to gather behind the two of them and vaguely appeared to have turned into a huge crouching dragon. Dragon tribe. Many experts were startled upon seeing this scene. All of them were so shocked to the point of exclaiming involuntarily. No one had expected that two of the four overlord tribes had actually made their appearances within a short half a day. This video will end here.